That just happened. Valve confers no subsidization for new hardware. Now I'm gonna let my cousin go because he's the one that was all about like, oh, Valve ain't gonna do wrong by the consumer. And I told him, don't trust none of these mofos. I'll let him go.
No one likes a bragger. But anywho, this is I want to take this time, ladies and gentlemen, mark this on your calendar. Infamous was wrong, and I'll admit that. It came out recently from Valve themselves. The Steam machines will not be subsidized and priced accordingly as consoles are.
Hey, break that down. Tell them what that means.
I'm
Okay.
into it. What that means is typically Microsoft and Nintendo, well, not really Nintendo anymore, but anywho, will release their consoles, and the price you pay on that console, majority of the time, they're not making a profit off of it in a sense. We're gonna keep this short. They're not making a profit. They're taking a loss on the console, but they're taking the loss on the systems with you purchasing games on the platform, subscription services, microtransactions, accessories. That is how they make their bread and butter and make their money back, especially PlayStation. But in recent years, they're kind of turning that around. PS4 was sold at a profit, even though I think it was like only $18. That's still some slim, rather than taking the hit. PS3s were sold at a great loss. It took $800 to make a PS3. They sold it for $600 before they did the revision. So the more they sold that system, the more they lost money. Valve has said they're not doing that. That the Steam machines will be priced accordingly based off of mid-range PCs and the most common PC setup and specs that people play Steam games on. Valve would know this because it's their platform. They have the data, so they know what is the most common hardware that's out there. But as we were saying with our last topic, with the skyrocketing prices of RAM and now SD cards, well, that plays a huge, huge part into this. Speculation was coming out saying that this is probably why Valve did not give a price on this, because in the background, they saw and they knew this was going on. And until they can figure out some type of way to adjust this, now, of course, you may be thinking like, oh, if they buy big enough in bulk, get a discount, etc. Yes, that is true. As me and my cousin debated off screen, it doesn't matter how rich or how wealthy or how much money any of these companies have, they always want, say it with me now, more. Yes, Valve is a privately owned company. They are not publicly traded. They do not have stockholders, shareholders to answer to, but everyone wants, say it one more time, more money. And the toll for them to take a negative hit on this, even if they will make it back through Steam purchases, and once you're in their ecosystem, it's just not happening.
That's a big bet.
It is a big bet. Now, you have people, certain YouTubers and journalists who have made videos, who have made articles talking about they spoke to this guy, they talked to Tom, Dick, Harry, Jim, Bob, Carl, Nelson, whoever.
Karen, Lisa, Becky.
Yes, all the office people. And they keep throwing out, the speculations of, it may be in the range of this. Oh, it could be in the range of this. I'm going to forego all that, and I'm just going to say this right here. The Steam machines cost more than $700. You just killed the casual market. You just pushed out the casuals, and now you are left with the hardcore. But here's the problem. This Steam machine is targeted towards people who do not and are not in the PC gaming realm. Anyone who has a PC, they're not buying this. They're not buying this because they already have their setup. They already have everything to the way they want, their drivers, their GPUs, CPUs, RAM, they already have all that. So why would they purchase this? This was made for Valve to tap into a market, the simplistic console users, a plug and play, and that came from them themselves. The Steam machine is a plug and play system, just like you price it too high, no one's going to grab it. The average casual consumer will look at that and see, it's just as expensive as PS5 or an Xbox. Why do I need to buy this? And this complicated, this Steam OS I don't know anything about, and games, and what does it do, and etc. All those questions that are not answered. I'm like, I could just get a PlayStation and just pop the game in or download it, and it just works. The pricing will determine the success. Now, I can understand, if you don't know, you don't pay PC games. That's not true. I do have a gaming laptop, and I do have a Steam Deck that I do use, Yes, I'm not big into it like everyone else with these $4 or $6,000 rigs. It's not my thing. I enjoy the simplistic nature of a console. Put the disc in, or just hit the button on download the game, and it just plays. Something goes wrong, hey, close the game out, reboot it back up. I don't even need to check an INN file or update a driver, or man, is your GPU getting coolant or whatever the hell? It's not for me. I was very shocked to hear this news because the Steam Deck, I'm pretty sure was subsidized.
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah.
pretty positive. So for them to go this other route, like I said, they had to have known this was coming. They had to have known, which is why they did not say the price, which is why they still have not and will not say the price. I'm sure somewhere in Valve, their CFO or whoever handles the money is negotiating their shoestrings and their hoodies to try to work out a deal. If they buy so much, where is the discounted number going to be? Because for people who do not know, Steam machines are their second attempt at this.
Yeah,
Now,
they've
I
been
will
here
admit,
before.
they've been here before, but I will admit, I thought they had a better chance at doing this because this is all being done in-house. Last time, Steam was having the third-party people make this. But this pricing says a lot. In the landscape, it's so crazy now that the PS3 costing $600, that's no longer a shock moment. The Pro is $750. The Xbox, whatever 2 terabyte thing, is $800. They don't give a shit anymore. They just like, hey man, hey, they gonna buy it, or they gonna buy it. There ain't another option. Valve can figure this out. They can salvage this. But mark my words, if this is over $7, it's not gonna do it. At that point, you might as well stick to either buying a PC, because trust and believe, they're hardcore PC players. They'll figure out and know ways on how to still make a PC, or you just go buy a console. And forgive me for saying this, but at this point, you just might as well just go and buy a PlayStation. PlayStation is on their way towards 100 million systems. The only one that didn't do that was the PS3. So Sony knows what they're doing with catering and bringing in the people to sell. Like I said when it started, Infamous was wrong because I was sure that they would subsidize to
Argue
get it
me
into
down.
as many hands as possible. You happy, Trees?
I'm just over here, in my opinion, sitting pretty. I just, try to give the most value news I can to our listeners. And I'm just saying, sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes I can be wrong. But I was pretty adamant when we went back and forth about this topic offline. But I just want to say this, and I'm not even going to drag my point out because you pretty much said everything. Listen, I think only Valve saving grace right now in the midst of everything with the RAM prices, SD prices, everything, just everything, period. I think if they made their order for their RAM chips last year or so, that's the only thing that's going to save them, and that's the only thing that's going to save this price. Now, if they're just now ordering, they're fucked. The RAM prices have skyrocketed. They're continuing to skyrocket. Even if you get a large amount order, I don't think manufacturers are giving you that much of a discount. They saying, fuck you, you need it anyway. Why would we discount you? You gonna buy it anyway. I'm telling you, all these makers and people that need RAM chips in their system right now, they are getting manhandled. They are getting bullied with the price. And even if there are good intentions with trying to price things, they just have no choice. People can say you're not in recession. They can say you're not in a depressive state financially around the world, but everything shows its ugly face in the end. And the prices of RAM is just one of those ugly things that really show you where we at in world and financing and everybody's, bottom line. It really shows you where we're at. And unfortunately or fortunately, if they did make that RAM order, and I hope they ordered appropriately, to where if the demand is high at release, they can meet all the demands, because any reorder they do going forward is fucked. I think too that another thing that my cousin didn't think of is that the fact that he keeps saying that it's built in-house, but that means that in-house has to leverage a lot of things. They have to put some collateral on the line to get these things made and then pump them out, and then the marketing. Like I said, it's an uphill battle for Valve in this new hardware. And I went through the specs in one of our last videos. Yo, this thing is specced out, so it's gonna cost. I mean, they said all this semi-custom chips they're doing, all that comes at a cost, and who's gonna pay that cost is the consumer. Valve is not gonna just take L's on this new hardware. So, God bless them. I hope they made their RAM order a long time ago, and I hope they ordered appropriately that could cover them for the next 2 years. Now, if they're doing like PlayStation and Xbox, they're buying RAM 6 months out, they're fucked. They're fucked. And I kept saying it's weird that they didn't put a price out. They said all this nice shit. They was telling you what they was doing with their right hand while not bringing any attention to the left. That's alarming. That's a red flag in my mind. I'm pessimistic. I can't help it. Listen, I think the worst. Yeah, I'll be very, very interested in the price. I hope it is affordable because, like I said, gaming is becoming a luxury. It's becoming very expensive. So I hope it is a reasonable price that the casual gamer can get into. But if not, God bless them. I hope they do got some money in the bank, and this could be potentially another L. But I have all the hopes, and I really hope they do well with this release. But I told you so. These companies not taking an L. They not leveraging. I think they're taking notes. I told you something's coming. They buckling down. Everything that's coming out since I said that statement is coming true. These people are watching the pocketbooks more than ever. And listen, you better watch yours too, because they listen, they got to get their money in the end. And I mean, I guess you do spend money on stuff, but are you going to spend money on a $700 Steam machine with no controller? I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna just stay with my PS5. I'm cool.
I concur.
You staying with your Steam, and that's another thing. They kept saying that the Steam Deck is a new version will come eventually. You can only imagine how much that gonna cost. And I think too, and this is where I'm gonna end it. The Steam Deck came out in a totally different situation for people financing in their pocketbook. That Steam Deck came out in a very, very nice gray area. We're not in a gray area. We are in a red area in people's pocketbooks. And that's why I think the next Steam Deck and this hardware is going to reflect the times that we're actually in now. Because it's been a shift. And, maybe they'll keep delaying the Steam Deck 2 until we kind of even out or stabilize or something. But this hardware, I don't know if they'll delay that, since not saying they can't, but even delaying it, I don't think the situation is going to improve fast enough in the next 2 years. I'm thinking we got at least 2 years in this.
And that's it for this video of Are You Not Entertained podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell so you'll never miss our next hot take. Until next time, Are You Not Entertained?